There's no way in God's green earth that our system will last even another few years, which means that you will have dust off and start playing the good old sacrifice violin. Divine greetings, African royals, wherever you are. Princes, princesses, kings and queens. Welcome again to another episode of W4W Book Reading series. Reading for Enlightenment and Awareness. We have been reading from the Handbook of Human Ownership, a manual for new tax farmers. And in today's episode, we will be covering the last two chapters, chapter 18 and chapter 19, which will close out the series for this season. However, let's pause a bit and give a warm welcome to our new subscribers. We truly thank you for joining us, and if this is your first time, please make sure to check out the previous episodes and the chapters we have already covered after you finish watching or listening to this episode. So you can be fully caught up with the rest of us. Remember to subscribe and share the session if you haven't already done so others can partake of these fruit nuggets. And also remember to click the notification bell so you are notified when we upload a new episode. In episode 12, we covered the chapters 16 and 17, where we get to see how children are trained and indoctrinated to become members of the slave class on the human farm in chapter 16. And how the role of science is manipulated and used as a management tool to control the tax cattle by the tax farmers in chapter 17. In today's episode, we will get to see the projected end game of the tax farmers and how they plan to recover from the inevitable collapse of their crumbling house of cards in chapters 18 and 19, the author subtitled From Here and the Conclusion, respectively. Stay tuned. I do hope that you are well geared up to learn something new today. But before we head on down into today's reading, a quick disclaimer. We might be reading from this book, but it don't mean that we endorse the book or the author. We are just reading for knowledge and enlightenment. Alright? Alright. And remember, it is a spiritual vision with our ancestors as our guiding light. And remember, you can always download a free copy of this book at freedomainradio.com so you can read and follow along with us. With that said, grab your notebooks, grab your highlighters and your pens, and let's go open up our eyes some more in this episode. Chapter 18. From Here. At this point, it does pain me to tell you that you will soon have the rather unenviable task of informing the livestock that they are pretty much screwed. There's no way in God's green earth that our system will last even another few years, which means that you will have dust off and start playing the good old sacrifice violin. Now this traditional instrument may sound screechy and ridiculous to your ears, but trust us, just keep playing, and everyone will dance in a line for you. Just tell them that big hardships are coming, that we as a nation are being tested, and that we all need to pull together and shoulder our common burdens and look out for the most vulnerable among us, and that to achieve a new dawn, sacrifices need to be made, and hint strongly that bad forces outside your control or before your time have robbed the people and will be held accountable, but that we all need to look to the future and remember that we as a people can do anything we set our minds and wills to, and we defeated the prior tyrannies, etc., etc., etc. For some reason, people always take a dark masochistic delight in struggling through trying times where they all have to quote-unquote pull together and quote-unquote make sacrifices and strive to achieve the best in tragic times, and so on. Probably boredom and self-contempt for their own hypocrisy, but who knows? And who cares? The important thing is that government, schools, and all the endless lies about past wars and depressions, that the best in people comes out in the worst of times and so on, have all programmed the citizens to react with dark and lascivious glee when we demand that they spend a generation eating shit for our mistakes. Of course, people love to punish themselves for their own hypocrisies and various other sins, and Lord knows the average state-sucking slut voter has more than enough to feel guilty about, trying to wheedle something for nothing out of the government, the future, their own children, for heaven's sake. So when sacrifice is called for, most people feel secretly relieved, since all these trials, tribulations, and common burdens effectively squelch any substantial social, economic, or political criticisms. Quote-unquote, pull together unleashes the most savage social censorship imaginable. During the coming time of crisis, if the young people justly point fingers at the greed and hypocrisy of their elders, they will be sternly told that we all have to pull together, and there's no point playing the quote-unquote blame game now. If the young point out that they were never allowed such a mealy-mouthed avoidance strategy when they were growing up, they will be told that they are quibbling and refusing to let go of the past, and so on. Imagine a teenager trying those strategies about failing to take out the garbage, and you will instantly see how much these cowardly redirects stink. So, self-flagellation for past crimes and avoidance of just accusations from past victims. These motives will trigger such hellish attacks on free thinkers that only the truly crazed will continue to raise these issues. If you want to know more about this phenomenon, just remember how few Europeans criticized the ruling classes for 2 world wars in 2 generations, but rather took pride in winning a bloodbath that cost over 50 million lives, and contrast that with how they treat a waiter who forgets their food order. So the plan is always the same. We pillage, plunder, and bribe, then demand sacrifices from our victims. To get the general idea, picture a rapist demanding a drive home from his victim. Anyone who does not play along with this insanity will just be branded a malcontent, not a quote-unquote team player, and mocked and ostracized. Fortunately, we have bred our livestock to be so dependent on social approval that most everyone will find this unbearable and slink back into the single file line to the graveyard, pushing their bewildered and resentful children ahead of them. Here ends chapter 18. Stick around for the conclusion coming up in chapter 19. Chapter 19. Conclusion. So remember, you are going to be taken care of. That's the first thing to really understand. You can't go broke. You can't go hungry. You can't lose your house. You can't really be fired. And people will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to hear you speak every day for the rest of your life. You will get libraries named after you, receive multi-million-dollar book deals, and a guaranteed gold-plated pension with free health care for the rest of your life. You have absolutely nothing to worry about. You have the softest seat and the biggest lifeboat. This is, to a large degree, the source of your weird confidence, which separates you from the herd and which they imagine is why you are their leader. The reality is that they have endless worries that you don't have, and so you can just join us, floating above the petty fears of the masses, serene and secure, like the ancient gods we have always been. So go out among the crowds and make pretty noises with your velvet throat. Distract these fools with your eloquence while we finish pillaging their pockets. Empty out the remainder of your soul, driving the sheeple off a cliff. It may haunt the remnants of your integrity, but don't worry. We do still have that stamp, just waiting for your smiling face. Here ends Chapter 19 and the book so titled The Handbook of Human Ownership, a manual for new tax farmers. I do hope that you learn a thing or two reading this book with us. Give thanks for sticking around. Knowledge and enlightenment is the objective. So, we've reached the end of today's episode. And thanks again for listening, and I do hope that you learned something new today. If you find this series educational and informative, please subscribe and join us as we continue, reading towards the global awakening and enlightenment of our people. A mammoth task, but it can be done. And again, please be reminded that not because we read a book here means that we are in agreement with the philosophies of the author or the context of the book. We are simply reading to become more knowledgeable about things we didn't know about but should. If it exists, then why shouldn't we know that it don't? Just simply that. Give thanks again, and thanks for stopping by. See you in the next episode. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and drop your analysis in the comment section, whether you read the book already or you're just reading the book with us. Your comments are welcome, okay? Give thanks.